Hello, and happiest of days to all of you folks. I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazingly awesome day today. So today is Saturday, and so I normally will review on Saturday something I call Serial Saturdays, where I review older serials and that sort of a thing too, that were back in the pulp era. Sometimes TVs, sometimes movies, and that sort of a thing for you folks. And so I thought it would be fun for me to knock out this one for you folks. So I did watch this a few weeks ago, just as a heads up, but I wasn't able to record this video because the last couple of weeks, it was somebody's birthday a couple of weeks ago, and then last week I was out on a reunion from a high school too, just as a heads up. But now we're getting back to tax for you folks. And so this is The King of the Forest Rangers. It's from 1946 for you folks. So this is a classic by Republic. It's 12 chapters long and 167 minutes for you folks. I'll link to you in the description below. Well, this stars Larry Thompson as Forest Ranger, Captain Steve King. Now, you can see there, his name is King. So the King of the Forest Rangers, like, isn't their leader or an actual proper king. It's just somebody with that name, which wouldn't make sense, right? That's just a heads up. All right, it also stars a bunch of other folks here too. One of them is Helen Talbot as Marion Brennan, and Stuart Hamlin as Professor Carver. A few others too here are Anthony Ward as Bert Spear, and then Leroy Mason as Flush Holiday, and then there's a person here, Scott Elliott, who stars as like a bunch of roles. Andrews, Byron, Merkel scenes, that sort of a thing. To see, you can check out his performances too, right? For you folks. This is directed by some folks we probably already know. And those are Spencer Gordon Bennett and Fred C. Brandon, who oftentimes will do a lot of that direct work for this stuff. This was written by Albert Dumond and Basil Dickey, Jesse Duffy, and Lynn Perkins for you, to also a bunch of previous people, names that we would probably recognize for them too, right? So many serial fans consider this kind of like one of the last good adventures, and so you can check it out if you're interested, and with great action and scenes, that sort of a thing too. So this is filmed in the California mountains, where this basically is set, and that sort of a thing too. So you can check it out. The plot here is very simple. The Forest Ranger that I mentioned before, Steve King, he's investigating a series of crimes that surround a secret treasure. We just don't know where it is, right? And that sort of a thing too. And that mystery begins after the owner of an ancient Indian rug from the area in the mountains is murdered, and then we find out that rug is actually kind of like a treasure map with the clues for this lost treasure, and that sort of a thing too. So King has to race against a devious archaeologist to find that treasure for you folks, right? So that sort of involves a lot of actions, interplays, some conspiracies of land acquisitions after they figure out where these things are, and that sort of a thing too, and then just sort of protecting it. All the good folks that are there too. So I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Yep, 8 out of 10. Sorry, I accidentally closed that for you folks. Yep, 8 out of 10. For you folks. And so there you are. Have you seen this? And if so, what did you think about it? Would you agree or disagree? Of my 8 out of 10 thoughts below. Then also, as a reminder, right, I'm not a film critic. I don't study film in college, right, or anything else, right? I don't make films for a living. No, none of that stuff, right? I'm a fan, right? And so I'm just a fan like you are. So your opinion really is as important as mine is, because I'm not coming to you from a place of expertise, right? Also, I kind of like to explore these forgotten serials and that sort of a thing too on this, but that have sort of been heavily influential in modern days, and that sort of a thing too, like this one that's probably lost to a lot of folks, but might have forgotten about, or never knew it existed, right? And that sort of a thing too. So I think that's an opportunity to really help you out and get invested in that, and that sort of a thing too, because they were, like I mentioned before, heavily influential. They sold seats in theaters, and that sort of a thing too. You often would go to doubles features back then with an A picture, B picture, a couple of shorts in between them with intermission too, and then you would, and those shorts weren't often. You might have trailers here and there. It wasn't the biggest thing in the world. And then after that, you would have some news reels as well as some cartoons that were shorter too. And then everybody would talk about the serials. You would have one before intermission and then one as people were leaving. And those cliffhangers would be what brought people back, right? How's this person going to survive? Let's go check it out. And that sort of a thing too, together, right? And they would talk about it. It was just the water cooler talk of that era, right? And that sort of a thing too. And so people would go with their fans, their family, their coworkers, their schools, their churches, right? All that stuff together. And so I definitely like to find these things for you folks. I also, yesterday, I do top 10 reviews and that sort of a thing too, of older stuff typically. I just did my top 10 non-Lovecraft Cthulhu Mythos short stories. Wednesday, I do older video game reviews of that sort of a thing too. I just did my video game review of 2018's Park Attack. I sometimes will do more recent stuff too. And then on Monday, I do reviews of older tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons or war games like Battletech, so you can check out that stuff too. And then the other 3 days a week, I do reviews of older things that you read, in science fiction, fantasy, horror things that we cover too, right? And so I hope that something there sounds like something you would be interested in. No pressure. But if so, welcome to the channel. And while you're here, please do all the YouTube stuff too, right? All up and down the blocks. As you can tell from those 7 older things that I review each week, it's the passion, right, of this channel and finding amazing things for you, talking about them, and that sort of a thing too, and reviewing them for you folks. Right? It's right, and for defining things for you folks. And it's even worse, name comes from too. That's the worst thing about new books. That's a quote by French philosopher Jacques Schubert, who says that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old stuff, right? And this is definitely some older stuff we might have forgotten about in our passion for the new distractions from novels to video games to movies. Not that the new stuff is bad, right? It's not, but you get the idea. It's the stuff standing on the shoulders of giants like the serials, like Flash Gordon, Zora, Doctor Who stuff, lots of stuff there. It's heavily influential modern day stuff. So check it out. I think you'll enjoy it, right? All up and down the blocks for you folks. And then I want to thank you so very, very much for, just taking some time out of your day and even investing in and watching my videos. Because, at the end of the day, we all have so many things that are happening in our modern lives, right? And we're pulled in so many different directions too. And so I appreciate this time that you spent with me. It's very humbling. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.